Info Plus for genuine information.
Namaste everyone. Welcome to the show Info Plus with me, Rebecca Chetri. Today we have a special guest with us today, Anna Maria, whose incredible journey and diverse experiences make for an inspiring story. From working as a culture mediator in Italy to conducting research on Nepali migration and even supporting special needs students through innovative approaches. She has a wealth of knowledge and insight to share. I'm sure this conversation will leave us all inspired and enlightened. So let's get started. Namaste, Bonjour, nice meeting you.
Namaste, bonjour, so nice to meet you. How are you?
Great, thank you.
Anna Maria Oprea, a 24-year-old cultural anthropology student at the University of Bologna, specializes in migration studies. Originally from Romania, currently Anna Maria is conducting groundbreaking research on Nepali migrant workers in Romania. So what similarities do you find between the two countries, Romania and Nepal? And since the both countries are so rich in cultural and heritage, isn't it?
Yes, that's what I found, that they are both two countries full of culture, full of heritage, full of beautiful traditional dances, for example. I actually learned how to do some Nepali dances.
Really?
And actually I did find some similarities with Romanian dances.
Okay.
That was very, very nice.
Okay. So is there any particular steps?
Oh, I did. So from the Nepali dances, I did learn, for example, this.
All right.
And like that.
Her work dives deep into their experiences, asking critical questions like, why do Nepali workers choose Romania? What challenges do they face?
Famous steps.
Right. And then we also have some dances like that. We dance with the people.
All right.
For example, something we take hands.
Okay.
And then we dance like one step in front.
Oh, all right. This is Romania.
Yes, this is
wow.
Romanian. And see, it can be nice. And sometimes it can also be done in pairs.
Oh, like this?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Like
Wonderful.
this. So I think this is similar to it can be similar to Nepali, but what I think that the nicest thing is that dance brings people together.
Exactly.
You know? So that is a nice
it
thing.
It unites people, the community, the culture.
So now you know how to dance Romanian.
Yeah, I know.
This is the basic Romanian dance, like this, right?
Yeah, nice.
And it can be difficult, for example, to this.
Oh, okay.
No? Which is Nepali.
Yeah, quite similar. Quite
right?
familiar.
The steps are the same. Like this is Romanian and this is Nepali.
Okay. Wonderful. Can you say one Romanian song line? One line?
I don't
Only
know.
one line.
What?
Only one line. It will look very nice.
But what song? Wait.
Any song.
Maria și Marioară, ia un par de momoară, parul să fie de plop, când ai să nu mă mor de tot. Maria și Marioară.
Very nice, very nice, beautiful.
How do their journeys reshape their families and communities back home? She focuses on Nepali migrant workers in Romania, exploring their experiences, challenges, and the social economic dynamics driving migrations. With a holistic approach to understanding global labor markets, she examines policies, cultural impacts, and the role of remittances in shaping lives and communities.
These are the mountains.
Okay.
This is where the sea is. Ooh. Here we have the Danube who crosses whole Europe now, and it ends it here. So that is Romania for you.
Okay.
Her dedication to qualitative fieldwork offers valuable insights into the complex realities of migration in today's globalized world. With a focus on policies, labor markets, and culture impacts, Anna Maria work shed lights on the human stories behind global migration, offering insights into resilience and systemic change.
Info Plus for genuine information.
Namaste, Bona Jiwa, and welcome to the show Info Plus.
Namaste, bună ziua, and thank you so much for having me. Thank you to Himalaya Television. This is a wonderful experience to talk to you and to be part of this program. And it's very nice because it actually reminds me of a few years back when I did some interviews for the Romanian television. So this brings back memories and it's very nice.
So can you share some of your memorable experience from a current role as a cultural mediator? I believe you are a cultural mediator as well.
I am. Actually, so first of all, I am an anthropologist. I finished my bachelor's in cultural anthropology, and afterwards I found out a job of being a cultural mediator in schools.
Okay.
Mainly kids. I work with kids between 8 and 13, and what I do is I try to help them in their journey to integrate in the Italian school system. So it is a very nice journey because it really brings out the aspects that we don't think about when we think about migration, and that is especially trying to communicate with the others, because a lot of these children don't speak Italian and they want to communicate and to play with the others, but there's this language barrier. So that is where I come in, and I try to teach them Italian and to help them make friends and to try to mediate the relationship between the school and the family so that it can work better to integrate them in the Italian school system and that they can get the best education that they can get. So that is a very nice experience, especially for me as a cultural anthropologist, because I get to be directly in contact with migrants and with different cultures and with how they interact with each other. For example, the Italian culture and Romanian or Moldovan culture or North African cultures. It's a very nice experience.
You just mentioned that you help translating different languages. So what is the most challenging fact that you faced during your work?
I would say that the most challenging fact is sometimes to translate and to explain concepts that are perceived differently in different cultures, especially in school settings. Sometimes maybe we have to talk about delicate issues such as children being on the spectrum and explaining these aspects to the parents who are not Italian, and maybe they have a difficult perspective about what being on the spectrum is, for example, autism or ADHD. So that is where the cultural mediator really has to try to grasp the different cultural aspects and to explain them with the instruments that that culture has. Because that way people can understand each other. But it can be challenging because often people don't understand what you mean and they think that you want to say something else because maybe you don't use the words that they are used to. So it's very important to find this linguistic balance in this work.
Your work seems to be very interesting to most of the people. How has it worked, shaped in understanding the global communication?
It definitely helps me every day, and it's very rewarding because through my work I can understand communication, especially at a very complex level, that is the children's level of communication. Yeah. That is one of the most direct communication. They don't have filters yet, so they just tell you whatever they want to tell you. So it's very interesting how they bring their own ideas and their own social norms into discussions and how they exchange it with different kids. And it's nice because they create these common spaces in which they have the same values but from different cultures, and they try to put them together and to be on the same level. And that is very interesting, and it really puts into perspective global communication and how global people should act as well, kind of like children, to try to understand each other in a joyful way, no?
You also mentioned that you have been supporting migrant people. So what has inspired you to support migrant students in adapting them in Italian school in Romania?
Well,
because this is not, I believe this is not that easy.
I believe it comes from a personal feeling because I'm also a migrant student in Italy, and because I was born and raised in Romania, in Bucharest, in the capital, but I left for university to pursue my bachelor's and my master's, and I did encounter the situation where I had to talk Italian to Italian people, and they did not often understand me, and I didn't always understand them. So there were these difficult cultural encounters and language barriers, which is what made me want to pursue this journey to help other children and other students to integrate in the system. Because once you do, if you get the instruments to do it, you really can enjoy the situation.
So what encouraged you to come here in Nepal for your research?
So as I mentioned earlier, I'm a migrant myself. I'm part of the educational migration movement, and during my studies there's been the development of a very big wave of Nepali workers to Romania. So I thought that it would be a very interesting idea to study this phenomena because it's a new wave of migration towards Romania. It's a very new dynamic in Romania because Romania was mainly a country that offered migrants and not received migrants. So that is why I wanted to do research about migrant Nepali workers in Romania and their experiences. What I am interested in is their experiences, and I try to really understand what they live and what they go through and what their challenges are and how the whole migrational process is in Romania.
So what do you think are some of the key findings or insights from your research that you would like to share with us?
Well, my research is an anthropological research, so it's holistic. So what that means is that it tries to look at the connection between the social, economic and political factors in the migrational process. So what I have found and what I have been looking at has been why Nepali people migrate to Romania, who are the Nepali people who migrate to Romania, how and through which ways they get to Romania, and what the impact of their migration is, both in Romania and in Nepal. So these are the key ideas that I'm looking at, that I'm researching. And what I have found interesting was, first of all, to leave from the context, from the description of the context. Because why do Nepali people have jobs in Romania? Because in Romania recently there's been developing a gap in the labor market, no? Romanian people don't want to do certain jobs. And the reasons for that can be that maybe they have social mobility and they don't want to do that type of jobs anymore. For example, a cook or a waiter in a restaurant. Another reason can be that we don't have a lot of young population to fill in those jobs. So we need foreign workers to fill in those jobs. And a third possible option is that way it's more lucrative for the employers. So that is, first of all, the context in which Nepali people can come and get jobs in Romania. And then there's, of course, the context in Nepal, where there are not a lot of jobs, there are a lot of people, there's a lot of young population, like 60% of the Nepal population are young people. So they do need to earn money to support their families, to support their children in pursuing education. And Romania can be a good destination for that, where they can earn this money. So this is the context in which migration is moving, and this is kind of the economical dynamic. Then, of course, there's a political dynamic, because if we think about it, 25% of Nepal's GDP is made out of remittances. So the fact that Nepali people work abroad is actually good for the development of the country, and it's actually suitable for the development of the country, because that way people with the remittances, they can have economical growth in individual level for their families, they can build houses, and they can have social mobility maybe in Nepal. But at the same time, there are also some negative aspects of this development through remittances, because the consequence is that the statal aid can be overseen, no? Because it's so it would be interesting to see Nepali people invest in businesses in Nepal with the remittances from abroad, so that way the country also can develop at a statal level, not only at an individual level.
So as you mentioned that there is a huge number of Nepali people in Romania. So could you also share about the condition and the livelihood?
Absolutely. So yes, right now there are more or less 25,000 Nepali people in Romania, which counts for 30% of the foreign population in Romania, which is a lot. So the community is very big. And what I have found during my research and during my interviews is that they have nice networking, they do have communities, they have friends. The living conditions are not bad, because in Romania the foreign workers, they have accommodation from the employer, so they do not have to pay for apartments or accommodation. They do get some money for food, for example, so they don't have to spend them on food. It's not necessarily enough, but they do get some help with, not help, they do get it from the employer. It's part of the dynamic. And so most of the people that I've interviewed are satisfied with the situation. Of course, there are difficulties and challenges in being a migrant worker. You are away from your family, you have to work a lot, and
so what do you think we can do together, because we have a long history between two countries?
Well, I believe that the diplomatic relationship between the states and between the ministries of labor have already started to move in a good direction. For example, in 2023, last year, Nepal and Romania have signed a bilateral labor agreement, which what it means is that it provides protection of the legal rights of migrant Nepali workers, social protection. Basically what it says is that a Nepali migrant has the same rights as a Romanian worker, which puts them on the same level and is very important for...
Nice.
Right? So that is already a very big step towards the relationship between the countries. And what I believe to be very important is maybe the sharing of information between institutions and between research centers about the status and the living conditions of Nepali people in Romania and about the process of Nepali migrants that go to Romania. I think that is very important. And the most important thing that I would like to address is that we should offer as a community and as nations information to the people. Because one of the main issues that make people vulnerable to overworking and to working overtime hours, etc., is lack of information, legal information about the work contract, etc. So it's because there are situations in which Nepali people work too long hours. They do get paid for it, but they work too long. And it's not that they are not satisfied with it, because they are happy to earn more money and to put money aside, but it would be important that they know their rights and they can act on it. So the most important thing is information, because that's also what we're working with right now. This is what we're trying to give people information so that they can act better in their lives and they can have better livelihoods.
So we can do a lot of things together if we could focus on certain things, as you said, right? So as you had shared earlier that you had studied about the Vedic, about the different kinds of religions. So what sparked your interest in the status and role of women in Vedic? Can you share?
Absolutely. So for my bachelor's, I did a paper on the condition of women in Vedic India, and particularly their role in the Vedic ritual, the Shruta ritual. And what sparked my interest, which is an interest I've had also being a woman, of course, maybe you can understand that we have to look in history and find our history, because women's history is not that open, because usually history is about big events and women are not always at the center of big events. So that is why I wanted to look at the role of women in the Vedic religion and in the Vedic India. And this actually continues to spark my interest. I'm also looking into the condition and the working conditions of Nepali women working in Romania nowadays, because I believe that we should look at gender issues and we should look at gender differences in how the society constructs, no? Because it's often different. It's not necessarily opposite ways for men and women, for example, in working in Romania, but there are different aspects to it, and we should look at them and try to give support, because often women can be more vulnerable in working situations, especially when we talk about Nepal. We can think about the Gulf context in which it's not easy for a woman to work. And actually, for example, Romania and Croatia are one of the main countries that Nepali women want to go to work in, because they know that it's a safe environment. And so I do believe we have to address these issues and try to protect everyone, both male and female workers, with the different challenges they face, because maybe male workers are more susceptible to overtime work hours and to physical stress. and maybe female workers can be susceptible to emotional stress. Because
so what do you think we should do to address these issues?
Again, I would say information.
Because you have done research in so many things and you must have the answer of these.
Well, I believe that one of the main good ideas would be to advocate and to talk about it. Because once people come to know what is happening and what the dangers can be, what the challenges can be, they can be more careful and they know how to protect themselves, no? And also policies, political activism, and trying to get also the state to address these problems more, to create policies that protect both female and male, and to protect its citizens in all the aspects of the citizen.
So as a citizen of Romania, what steps would you wish to take?
As a citizen of Romania, the steps that I would like to take would be, for example, the development of support systems, of NGOs who address the issues, that go to schools to educate people about that. Because it's very important to start from education now, and to go to schools and high schools and talk to young people about these issues, and to try to make them understand the dynamics of the society and how they should cope with it. So I believe that the first step would be to educate people, to give them the information so that these quite unequal dynamics should not perpetuate anymore.
How do you see globalization shaping cultural identities, especially in your experience with the migrant community, since you are doing lots of research on this topic?
That is a very interesting question. Thank you for that. I believe that globalization brings communication and interconnection. And what it does, in my opinion, in migrant workers' life and in migrants' life in general, is to mediate between cultures. It becomes something common. For example, Nepali workers in Romania, sometimes they pass by a Romanian church, a Christian church, but they think about Shiva, no? But since they see a church, they do think about their own religious life. And I believe that this is an example of what globalization does. It does bring people together in their differences. And the most important thing would be to communicate, because often people can be afraid of what is unknown, of the difference, and of course of different people, because there are cases of discrimination or racial profiling, for example, which is often a consequence of globalization and of cultures coming together and meeting each other. And I think that the most important thing is to communicate and to understand that we are all connected in this global market, in this global dynamics of the neoliberal world that we live in.
So how do you think we can do that? Because it's not easy to make the people connected, because people have come from different culture, different religions. So what do you think we can connect in that way, as you said?
Absolutely. I think it would be nice to find the common things, the things that we have in common, the similarities between us, because beyond religion and status and class and whatever it is, after all, we are people, and even two different cultures, if we really look in detail, we can find so many similar things.
Yeah, that's true.
And I would go back again to the education issue, because I believe that in order for people to see that different cultures are actually similar in their differences, you should be educated to understand that, and to not be afraid of something that is different from you, and just to communicate with each other. And I believe, though, that this is a longer process. It cannot be something that happens after one night. It does have to be something in time.
Sometimes.
Exactly, because the more people start to interact with each other, the more they start to understand they're not as different as they thought.
So, any advice that you would like to give to others working in multicultural environment?
Definitely. I would ask them to think also about themselves, not lose themselves in what the country they work in wants, to understand that they don't have to sacrifice themselves necessarily, and that they can fight for themselves and they can work on their challenges, and they can have better livelihoods, including in the destination country where they work, but also in their country where they come from. And I believe that it would be important for migrant workers to think about the country they come from, and about the importance to invest in micro businesses, in small businesses, in whatever type of activity that can develop their own country, so that they get more opportunities for the people in the country.
What's your future goals, both in academically and professionally? Because you seems like you have done lots of things in such a young age.
Well, I would not say that I have done all that many things. I do try to do my best, and I try to applicate what I study and what I learn, and I try to put it in a framework that can help people and that can help the system to work well. Because we have to work with the system, and we have to try to change what little we don't like about it by being active. And active can also be very little things, like, I don't know, taking the trash, no, putting plastic in plastic, recycling. That is a very, anything can be active if you want to change something. And you don't have to necessarily be a big, important person to try to pursue something in that sense.
You know, it's not that easy for the people to migrate from one country to another country, and economically also that person has to be very strong, I believe. So how easy is it for the people of Nepal to get migrated in Romania?
That is a very good subject that you have just touched, and I believe it's also very important. And when we talk about how people migrate and the process to migrate, recruitment fees, visas, etc., it's very important to understand that it's a social and economical process. So it depends on the social and economical context. Because if we think about it, in Nepal, we could think that there are different groups of people who can and have the possibility to migrate in different areas in different countries. There are people who migrate to India, there are people who migrate to the Gulf, and there are people who migrate to Europe. But we do have to take into account that the choice to migrate is directly influenced by the possibility to pay the fees, the recruitment fees. Because Europe, to migrate to Europe, Nepali people have to pay huge amounts to the recruitment agencies. And I'm not saying that it's the fault of recruitment agencies. What I'm saying is that there should be more regulation of this dynamics, because we cannot say that there is a good guy or a bad guy. Of course, maybe a Nepali migrant who pays a lot of fees would say, why do I have to pay so much? But the recruitment agencies, for example, they offer information and valuable information, and they have to, you know, interact with the Romanian recruitment agencies. So there are a lot of costs in the middle of this situation. But the problem is that the main victims of this migrational process are the Nepali people, because they have to pay a lot of money. They have to get loans, and when they get to Romania to work, the first year they have to pay back their debts in Nepal. And afterwards they can start earning and putting money aside. So I believe this is an issue that should be addressed. But it is important to take that into account.
How do you envision your work contributing to cultural understanding and social illusion on a larger scale?
I believe that especially this research, which is one of the first researches on the subject, because the phenomena of Nepali workers and migrants in Romania is very new. And I believe that it could contribute to a better understanding of the Nepali migrants' experiences, and most importantly on how we could come up with instruments to help them with the challenges and to also understand the dynamics of this global labor market, which is a very contemporary aspect in which we have to take into account migrants, states, and recruitment agencies, which are all part of one phenomena, right? That is the migrational process. So that is what I hope my contribution to be. I hope that people can understand this process better, and I hope that people can be better informed so that they can, live better and not get maybe in vulnerable situations whilst working abroad, like for example, exploitation or something like that. So that is what I hope my contribution to be.
So, any message that you would like to give to the viewers who are watching you right now, because you are here in Nepal all the way from Romania just for the research on particular issues?
I would like to thank Nepal because it's been wonderful to me. All the people have been so nice and so helpful. First of all, I would like to thank them for being so open to me as a foreigner. And I really hope that Romania could be as open and as nice to them as they are to me. And I believe that is possible, and I believe that Romania and Nepal can have nice and long-term relationships, and both on social, economic and diplomatic ways.
Thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure talking to you. Namaste and Bona Jiwa.
Thank you so much for having me. Namaste and zi frumoasă.
Info Plus for genuine information.
That brings us to the end of today's enlightening conversation. A heartfelt thank you to Anna Maria for sharing her valuable time, experiences, and insight with us. Your work and dedication for fostering cultural understanding and social inclusion are truly inspiring. And thank you to our viewers for joining us today. Until next time, take care and namaste.
Info Plus for genuine information.